So, this video is worlds away from what I usually do, but for some reason I just had a feeling that I needed to make this video. As you can tell by the title, I have a glass eye. And it's weird, and I'm going to talk about it because I get a lot of questions, to be honest, and I figure why not be honest. Even though I've had it pretty much all my life, I am still not used to it. A piece of plastic surrounded by glass lodged in your socket. It's not exactly comfortable. I used to sleep without it, but it's best to just try and deal with it. Having your eyelids droop out without an eye to close over and close together in a weird way means that just having something there helps, despite it being a strange sensation. I, of course, got bullied a lot. I still kinda do, to be honest. In fact, just the other day, I was playing Resident Evil 4, and the game couldn't resist getting a dig in. The thing with bullies is, they tend to be a bit simple. They could barely scrape the line of basic insults to aim at a one-eyed man like Cyclops or even Pirate. They, much like Resident Evil 4, just flat out tell you you have a false eye and expect you to break down in tears. Speaking of tears, you could bring tears to a glass eye, a well-known saying and of course complete bollocks. Glass eyes can cry, of course. It's unrelated to the tear ducts. There, myth debunked. Moving on. The eye itself is easy to remove and put in. You just push it from the side and grab it from the opposite end. Perhaps you would like to know about the creation of the eye. Well, when I was younger, I had to sit in a chair at the hospital for hours while the ocularist, the person who specialises in creating ocular prosthetics, would hand paint the glass eye, taking care to perfectly match the other eye. I can't even begin to tell you how talented these people are, painstakingly colouring in the exact blue or brown, creating veins and discoloured yellow to match the other eye as best as possible. Obviously, we have moved on in terms of creation, and it's a lot simpler and streamlined now. Of course, it's quite obvious when somebody has a glass eye, although most are civil enough to pretend that they didn't notice. A few people assume you have a lazy eye, and I usually just let them think that's the case. When I was in high school, people would come up to me and ask to see the eye, or rather the socket, claiming that they could see my brain. At first, this bothered me, but eventually I started to charge them. I would make so much money surrounded by a crowd of curious people, but I started to get lightheaded. It's hard to describe the feeling of wind entering your empty eye socket, and of course, this led to issues. I learnt the hard way that leaving an eye socket unprotected leads to infections. Take notes, Carl Grimes, because I'm sure Negan took all your antibiotics. So the eye can be uncomfortable, and you need to clean it all the time, and leaving the eye out isn't much better. I can see why pirates wore eye patches. I would too, but I get enough shit from strangers in the street without looking like Blackbeard. The vision when you have one eye is like there's a fence, and I've cut a hole in the fence to look through, so I'm basically looking through a circle, and I can see the edge. In fact, I spend all day looking at the side of my nose. And people with two eyes fascinate me. The fact that they have two eyes always meant that when I was growing up, I thought that they had two circles and they were looking through two eyes. It wasn't until I was about 16 that I found out that they have one field of vision and that there isn't a nose in between, and it wasn't just a double version of what I had. Anyway, for the grand finale, the aesthetics of the ocular prosthetic. I'm sure you imagine it as a pure round eye, like a globe, but that's not the case. As you can see, the eye is curved with a flat back, although sometimes there are indentations and certain ridges to best fit the socket. I had this particular eye shaved down as I kept having to push it back in every few minutes. Oh, there's also a number code engraved in the top, although I'm not sure if you can see it. This serves as a way of telling, for me personally, that part with the number on the top is indeed the top. Because let me tell you, when you put a false eye in the wrong way, it can certainly freak people out. So that's it. I hate having a blind spot. And of course, lack of an eye means that I lack basic symmetry, needed to be aesthetically attractive, as dictated by the paradigms of beauty set forth by this, our modern society. But I don't wake up every morning wishing I had two eyes. I accept it. Any questions you may have, let me know. I am more than willing to answer. Thank you, and good night.